Sliggy stepping down as head coach, this was not particularly explained. He just said that he had a difference of direction for the team overall.
I think this story begins at the 2019 CSGO Major. Like any fan in CS, I was super pumped for the Major, but then when I started watching the event, quickly realized that the observing was just really bad.
Dexter looks primed for a Desert Eagle headshot here, and he certainly delivers. Looked a bit confusing, but I assure you he got it.
In the past 2 years, me and some other observers like Prius, Sapphire, and Rushley spent a lot of time just trying to make sure that we can story tell the best as possible and just show how much time a lot of the pros put into the game itself. When I was watching the Star Ladder Major, the whole kind of story wasn't really being shown to the level that it should have been.
See if that's the case for them, because they will have... Oh, Zeus is alive, and he will remain alive.
Star Ladder actually rang me up, just asking me to drop everything and fly out to Berlin, and the rest is history.
Oh, what, they're using cameras and everything? Have they got a real observer?
Maybe. They've flown in someone. They're about to see a surprise tweet.
The community response was overwhelmingly in support of his work. That community feedback is something that means a lot to Connor. It validated his work.
It was a big moment for me. I really felt like I kind of cemented myself as one of the best observers in the world.
When we used to play games, he'd go a little bit extra.
Do you remember how bad Mark was at Halo?
Yeah, we had strategies that were literally around how bad he was. Yeah, Mark, go hide, or Mark, you go in first.
Yeah.
He'd go like that one step further than all of us. We were just playing it for fun, but Connor always took it very, very seriously.
I just hyper-focus to almost unhealthy levels where I just spend a lot of time and it's like all I think about.
He's always gotten to the point where he feels like he's gotten to like a very high level, if not the top level, and then tries to search for something that's more challenging.
Then I heard about Valorant coming out and it was like the most perfect time.
When he decided that he was going to start Fish 123 coming out of a successful observing career in Counter-Strike, I must admit I couldn't quite believe it.
It just felt like the right move. It was a good bunch of players. Everyone was just committed to let's play the game as much as possible and get as good as we can.
Oh, la 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 la. That's the nade coming out for the fifth.
Link grabs one and Link gets the second two!
We practiced a lot harder than everyone else very early on. I already was sitting on servers for 14 to 16 hours a day just finding lineups and just the best way to use the utility.
Oh! Nice Vipper, up level!
He's quite, I'd say, free-minded. It's probably allowed him to innovate a lot and create a lot of new stuff in a new game like Valorant.
Within about a month, we had won 7 events. We had played 35 best of 3s, undefeated in terms of best of 3s. We were kind of at the top of our game, at least earning-wise in the world. We were the highest within the first 2 months.
This beta was like a fairy tale for us. We've come out the beta, being rated the #1 best team in Europe. It's absolutely crazy.
I remember us talking about like how we were all in this together. I was tempted to write up contracts, but I felt like us at least being friends, it would all kind of be enough. It was a bit of a shock when Ardis left, but at the same time, we kind of all understood it. Yeah, it was still a hard moment.
Losing a player like Ardis, even though that would be a huge setback for any other coach, someone that's as determined and vision focused like Sliggy, like he was always going to be able to overcome it.
We ended up talking to Scream and he actually told us that Liquid were in talks with him. Scream himself is just an incredible player, so he fit in really well. Kind of forgot about the Ardis thing relatively quickly after that.
And now Scream looks to make his move. The sneak back, a double headshot. He's sticking, but he's falling.
Within the beta in terms of Fish 123, we just abused what was broken. And that kind of transferred into my time in Liquid as well.
I remember one day before practice, Sliggy was telling me like how good the judge was. He basically forced me to play with it and learn the technique with it. I think all of those many deathmatches with the judge probably annoyed a lot of people, but in the end it really paid off.
You could make a very quick rotation back into mid if he wanted to.
Instead, Jamppi! The venom just through the veins, though! How does he get all 3?
Dude, that guy got one shot. That Jet got one shot, bro.
We did a few comps where we had like no duelist. It was kind of unheard of at the time.
Scenarios, it can be tough to hold, and then no scope from Jamppi.
Of popping down the ult, pushing mid to catch them on the way, and Scream comes through to ruin their day. Toronto's even naded himself, and Scream aces it out.
A team that like creates new stuff, and it's always nice to see, and I think it's one of his strengths.
It was a big team effort, but I definitely felt that was like where I felt like I had the most impacts in terms of the comps and my ideas.
All our hard work, we really deserve this. Let's just keep it up, let's work hard. I'm gonna smash it out.
My dad's always been crazy supportive of me. He's a gamer himself.
I think that benefited you, the fact that I was into games of my kind, more analog tabletop. I understood a lot of what was going on in your arena.
And then when I joined kind of Team Liquid, the support was just there, and my dad and my granddad would both like go watch together sometimes as well and just send me messages.
I remember waking up before every game, it would just be a new picture of something that you've done with the mascot.
My favourite one is the one where I actually managed to get into one of your medium-sized hoodies. I was just pleased the fact that I got into a medium-sized hoodie.
The support that my dad offered was incredible.
You know, your granddad did the same sort of stuff for me. When I was searching for something that I was going to be interested in, he was very supportive. He was always giving me stuff, finding out, you know, what I was interested in. That was just my upbringing. That's naturally what I was going to do.
Going into Champions, we had just won Last Chance qualifier. We were running off like a high, and we definitely felt like this was our tournament to win.
The tournament was going really well. We had wins against Crew, Sentinels, and C9.
Team Liquid is looking like the hottest team in Valorant right now, having not dropped a series since the pickup of Nevera.
At that point, we get the semi-final fixture, and it's against Ascend. We're feeling really confident because of our previous results against them. When we got into the game, though, I could really feel that something wasn't quite right for the guys.
Guys, can't lose this. Honestly, I missed the crucial shot. I was low HP, so I missed something.
We didn't really put up a good performance at all, so it was very gutting to go out like that.
Jamppi's in such a bad position. What can he do? Liquid's undefeated run has been crushed by Ascend.
As practice started in like January and February, there was a bit of a disconnect between me and the team and like my vision in terms of how I wanted them to approach set maps and matches.
And that's where like the big disconnect of this team doesn't work, because I need an IGL on the server that is doing something similar to what I'm doing, else we are.
The moment where it personally clicked in my head that I felt like something 100% had to change was the second Iceland. We didn't have a set IGL, so there was a lot of like pre-planned rounds. But I remember in the Zeta game, I said for the pistol, we're just gonna walk contact B, and we ended up like walking, then executing and making loads of sound.
Zeta, get things started right with the first round on the board.
That's when I kind of realized that the disconnect was just too big for me to fill. I was so sure that I wanted to go back to coaching, but obviously there was going to be a bit of a shuffle in terms of teams and franchising that was coming up. So I was literally just going to take 6 months off. I was going to try and just stream, and then the original goal was I come back and I join a team for franchising. Then I kind of discovered that I loved streaming.
This is the craziest round I've ever seen.
It kind of blended my two roles really perfectly in terms of being an observer, looking at the minimap, focusing on what's going to happen, and then obviously the coaching side in terms of the strats and what teams are just thinking in the moment.
Zoms needs to relax, I think. Are we going to see Zoms go take TP? Yeah, gets his all out, gets out of there in time, great!
The support's crazy. Like, the support is something that I've never really experienced. I've always been in a kind of support role, whether it's a coach or observing. The only kind of criticism you get is when you do something wrong, so it's actually nice to get good recognition, like, very early on in the watch parties.
Look at you all, XOZ, you're crazy. Chat, what is wrong with you all today? Thank you so much, it's mad. The amount of support I get from you guys is just pure madness. Torch, Badro, John, 2-6.
I was at a breaking point basically in terms of franchise was coming up, teams were looking for coaches, and I was getting a lot of coaching offers, and Liquid were the only one to approach me with a content creator, and that actually appealed to me a lot, because I think when you go into coaching you want to be 100%, you want to be all in, and I was at a point where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm definitely not done with coaching, but this is where I want to be at the moment. I set out in coaching to win a lot of things, especially like a big tournament, and I never achieved that. So that is something that in the future I will come back and do.